as a millennial, I'm always interested to see what you guys did growing up. I'm sorry, what is that? And how other generations had fun in the downtime. So that's what we're going to be doing today. This is going to be if you grew up in the 70s. I'm sorry, what am I looking at, man? Welcome to the show. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. Let's go. Yeah, you lot are different, man. Okay, so this is mainly aimed at like Gen Z, because I'm assuming that's kind of like when Gen Z were in their kid prime. Here we go. Summer breaks in the 1970s.
If you grew up in the 1970s, you probably experienced a summer break that was quite a bit different from what kids have today.
Okay.
Parenting standards in the 1970s required a lot less supervision, and kids were mostly left on their own to do what they wanted to do.
Hey, you know what? That's what makes people, though, in my opinion, bro. I think there's such thing as too much parenting. You know, you're too controlled over what your kid gets up to in their downtime, and it'll just kind of make them a little bit robotic, and it'll also give you more stress. So I always see this, like, this photo is a good indication of how I feel towards, like, the 70s and Gen Z. I feel like you guys just had a lot more freedom, man. You just lived in the moment type shit.
Us 70s kids would enjoy a season of freedom and independence that helped us learn to navigate the world confidently and figure things out on our own.
Yeah.
Join me as we take a trip back to see what summer break looked like for kids in the 1970s.
Hey guys, while you're here, I'd appreciate a like on the video. And maybe subscribe if you guys want to see more videos like this.
There were no 5th grade graduation ceremonies or kindergarten commencements. When that last bell rang, school ended and summer began.
Look at those kids, man. Look how happy they are.
Of course, it didn't feel fully like summer until Monday morning came and you didn't have to go to school.
I still remember that feeling. Waking up on the first weekday of the month. Sorry, first weekday of the summer break. Usually a Monday. Because it was always usually Friday was your last day, and you just knew you didn't need to go nowhere. You could hear the lawnmowers outside cutting the grass, birds were chirping, sun beating through the window, and you knew you were going outside to play football, play some sports, play games with your friends, and you didn't have to come back until the street lights came on, which was really late because it was summer. Oh, what a time, man.
Mom and Dad both worked. You'd be on your own for the whole day. And if your mom didn't work, you'd still be on your own for the whole day because Mom didn't want you sitting around the house. She wanted
This
you
is
out
literally like me,
something.
man. That sounds like my childhood.
If you didn't have anything to do, you better not say so. Otherwise, Mom would be quick to find something for you to do.
Hey guys, oh my god, that's so true. You better get up, get changed, get the fuck out the house. Guys, what generation are you? Let me know down below what generation you are and what you miss most about, you know, being a kid growing up. Let me know. I'd love to read some.
And you definitely did not want that.
Look at the AI on that.
2 things we did not have in the 1970s were cell phones or supervised play dates. Kids were in charge of making their own friends, and we were more than comfortable going door to door to find some.
Yes!
Can Adam come out and play? If not, on to the next house. And if you didn't have any kids nearby, you'd be dialing them up from the phone in the kitchen. After you had some friends lined up, transportation was never a problem.
Cyclists.
Your ticket to ride was leaned up against the wall of the garage if it wasn't still laying in the yard from the day before.
Oh. What is that? Brother, what is that?
For kids today...
I'm sorry. That is the coolest fucking bike I think I've ever seen in my life, man. Excuse my language. What is this, though? What is this stick? Is that like a gear stick? You got gears in this?
For kids today, their cell phone is probably their most essential possession.
True.
Or their video game system, or their Adderall. But not for us. If you grew up in the 1970s, your single most important and necessary possession was your bike. On your bike, you could visit friends, explore your neighborhood or town, and go on adventures without relying on a ride from your parents. With high-rise handlebars and a banana seat, your bike could take you as far as you were willing to pedal. While the Schwinn Stingray was the gold standard in banana seat bikes, those of us whose parents weren't rich would be riding a Huffy from Kmart or a Free Spirit from Sears.
Oh, I like that one. Look at that, bro. Oh my god. Looking at these photographs of these bikes and the videos of the kids kind of cycling around. It kind of reminds you of the freedom you had, right?
And over the course of a long 1970s summer, those Huffies and Free Spirits would be putting on plenty of miles.
Love it. I actually want to get a bike, man. I kind of want to get back into going places on a bike.
There were usually a few parks or playgrounds pretty nearby. But back in the 70s, the playground was a little different from what kids have today. Today's playgrounds are usually made of plastic with easy-to-climb stairs, safety railings, and plastic slides that curve to slow you down. Not in the 70s. Playground structures used to be made out of metal.
That's about fucking 15 feet off the floor.
Most of this equipment had already been around for a while, which meant the colorful lead paint was usually flaking off, revealing more rust than the inside of your Partridge Family lunchbox. On a sunny day, the surfaces of those tall, straight steel slides would get up to 140 degrees, which meant some real burns on your legs if you were wearing shorts, which you probably were because it was summertime.
Bro, that thing looks like it is rusted to high heavens.
Another playground favorite was the merry-go-round.
Oh my god, what a death
trap.
trap.
On the metal platform, and before long, some older kids would be whipping that thing around so fast, you were bound to get thrown off.
What?
Another common piece of playground equipment in the 1970s was the rocket ship slide. Often painted in red, white, and blue, these multi-level spaceships not only inspired the imagination, but a sense of patriotism too. Sadly, it seems they have all but disappeared.
That is insane.
On those super hot days when the cicadas were buzzing and the sweat was streaming down the back of your tank top, there's nothing better than going swimming.
Oh my god. Yes.
Nowadays, it seems like every city and suburb has its own water park with multi-level water slides and a kiddie splash pad. In the 1970s, water slides were only found in tourist locations.
I mean, that's you can't really complain about that. That's kind of cool that there's a slide and this fucking water park in every town. That's kind of cool. You can't lie. You can't. There's many things that were better back in the day, but if you have a park and a slide in every town for kids, then that's a W, bro. You got to take that. It's such a positive.
And they were basically just concrete trenches dug into the side of a hill and slathered over with layers of lead paint. Nope. For most of us kids, the best option for cooling off in the summer was going to be the community pool. At the pool, you'd probably run into some of your friends from school. There might even be some girls there that you could impress by splashing them with water or by showing off some acrobatic cannonballs from the diving board. And speaking of diving boards, public pools in the
I swear, like, looking at these photographs, everything just looks more alive.
1970s had something you rarely see.
Right, it just looks so much more human. Yeah, you're not finding me up there, man. Hell no.
Wasn't a decision to be taken lightly. As soon as you got a few rungs up, you'd be locked in by a line of kids climbing up behind you. This meant that when you reached the top, there was only one way you were getting down.
You're leaping off.
You'd never hear the end of it from your buddies if you chickened out. Plus, one of those girls might be watching. Now, when you got bored of the playground and the pool, there was always more to discover. Country kids had fishing holes, forests.
See, we don't. This is something we don't. Oh my god, nah. We wouldn't really have this sort of shit because our towns are so small, right? We wouldn't have spaces for lakes and all. And there's very rarely abandoned houses. But like, the thought of a house sitting like that, uninhabited, abandoned, just waiting to be going in and searched. Oh my god, that just sounds like my dream as a kid.
Probably
That's
had
so
a
much
minibike
fun.
Or three-wheeler to take out on the trails or race alongside.
Going in and playing
railroad
hide and
tracks.
seek around it.
But even for kids living in the suburbs, there was usually still some adventure left to be found.
Look at this, bro.
No matter where you lived, there was bound to be some small lake or pond with some sketchy rope tied to a tree that could swing you out into the water. You'd probably need to keep your shoes on to avoid broken bottles, but back on your bike in the warm sun, you'd be dry by the time you got home for dinner.
Told you, it's just everything here just looks so much more.
It seems that any building kids do today is done by playing the video
More
game
human.
Minecraft.
True.
Back in the 70s, we built things in real life.
Look at that.
As long as we had a handsaw, a hammer, and some nails, we could pretty much build anything that we wanted. We built forts in the backyard,
Yep,
tree
I
houses
did
in the
too.
woods, and wooden go-karts that we'd tow behind our bikes or ride.
I've always said this, right? I'm a millennial, right? I'm a millennial, 1991. I think after like 95, 96, that's when it started going downhill, bro. Forts stopped getting made, tree huts weren't a thing.
down
Sucks,
neighborhood
man.
hills.
We're going
These rickety
backwards.
little cars would be steered with a rope tied to either side of the front axle. And the one thing we never thought to put on them was a brake.
Yep.
And thanks to all the new construction that was going on at the time, finding lumber was never a problem. Do kids still build bike ramps anymore?
No.
Because back in the 70s, every kid built a bike ramp. We'd grown up watching Evel Knievel jump cars,
Evel
buses,
Knievel.
canyons, and fountains since we were little kids. We all had the Evel Knievel wind-up stunt bike, and by the time we were toddlers, we were attempting jumps on our big wheels. All
Kids
we
just
really
wouldn't
needed
do that
for a
now.
bike ramp was a plank of wood and something to set it on. Usually a cinder block, some bricks, or just some more pieces of wood. Then, you just need something to jump over. Evel jumped over cars, buses, and canyons. We'd start by jumping over some of our friends' bikes and move up to jumping over some of our friends.
Yeah, you lot are different, man. You know what, man? Around about here, you're probably safe, right? You got the biggest balls if you're on the end or the very front.
Back
Biggest
then,
balls.
our parents weren't overly concerned about us kids attempting these bike jumps and other stuff.
You couldn't care
If they
less,
ever
man.
did tell us to stop, it was usually just so they could go grab their camera. I mean, who do you think it was taking all of these pictures?
Jesus. Can I also put into consideration that these bikes didn't even have suspension, man? So when they hit the ground, you're walloping the ground. Like there's no give in this at all, man. There's no suspension. I think that's something that's overlooked as well, bro.
A popular place to catch up with friends during summer break was at the local roller rink. Ours was called Apple Rollerway.
Okay.
Every session, I remember they'd do this thing called the snowball skate, where the DJ would send all the boys to one end of the rink and all the
Oh
girls
my
to the
God.
other. Then, one of the two groups was chosen to skate across the rink and choose a skating partner to hold hands with during the slow song.
What?
If you didn't get picked for the snowball skate, it was the perfect time to grab a hot dog and a Coke or get in a game of foosball with
Nah,
your
if you don't get picked, you're going home, mate. If I didn't get picked, I was going home. I ain't going to get a fucking hot dog, bro. I'm going home to cry into my pillow, man, if I didn't get picked.
friends. Sadly, Apple Rollerway closed its doors for the last time back
no.
in the 1980s. However, the original
Somebody pick her
wood
immediately,
skating
man.
surface can
Breaks my
still be
heart.
seen to this day as the floor of the Ace Hardware store that has since taken over the building.
Boo! Oh, you know what? That just sums up society now, man. Fun places for kids getting replaced by fucking corporate shitholes. Here's my
Back
big
in
good
the
story, but I
70s,
understand.
kids would travel the streets in packs, and occasionally the pack would end up back at someone's house. It was always easy
Oh
to
my
tell
God,
which
this-
house that was.
I love this
With
so
no
much.
adults interfering, we could easily get a game of football or baseball going in the backyard, using frisbees or ice cream bucket lids for yard lines or bases. And if we were feeling brave, maybe even an innocent game of lawn darts.
I'm sorry?
On really hot
What
days,
the
we would
hell
keep
was
cool by
that?
running through the sprinklers or putting out the slip and slide, or maybe take a dip in the pool.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I wish. In my neighborhood, the pools generally looked more like this. Everybody in!
Aw.
Anytime us 70s kids got thirsty, there was only one thing to do.
A hose.
Hey, cooler!
You thought I was gonna say we drank out of the hose, right?
I did, yeah.
Well, maybe as a last resort. To tell you the truth, though, this hardly ever worked. The Kool-Aid guy just had too many places to be back in the 70s.
Uh-huh.
So,
Kool-Aid?
yeah, we usually just drank out of the hose.
Yeah. H2O! Much
There would
better.
always be a break in the action when dinner time rolled around.
Uh-huh.
If you were lucky, Dad would be in a good enough mood to fire up the charcoal grill as he relaxed with a can of Miller Lite. Maybe he'd even share some with you. Then, as the sun began
What are
to
those? Whoa! What are those cans? Those cans are a bit wild looking, aren't they? Is that what cans of Miller Lite used to look like?
the sun began to set, you would gather up a group of the neighborhood kids for some more adventures before bedtime. Games like Kick the Can, Flashlight Tag, and Ghost in the Graveyard would have you running through the darkened
Ghost in the
backyards of your
Graveyard.
neighborhood as you did your best to stay quiet and not get found.
What a time to be alive. Honestly, I
On humid nights,
genuinely
without a
feel
lot
sorry
of
for
wind,
kids growing up now,
the
man.
lightning bugs would start coming out at around dusk. With a butterfly net and some patience, you'd be gathering up as many of these glowing beetles as you could, trying to create your own
so cool. We don't got them here.
Jar with some holes in the top.
What?
When the final call to come inside was heard, you'd make your way back home and fall into your bed exhausted. With the fresh night air flowing in through the open window, you'd fall asleep to a soundtrack of chirping crickets, interrupted by the occasional jolt of a bug zapper.
Wow.
We had no idea at the time, but those summer days that seemed to last forever would be gone before we knew it.
Well, that's a good way to get you depressed. You know what? You can either be depressed that it's over or appreciate that you got to grow up in that time. You know what I mean? Like, it could be worse. You could be grown up now, and all kids now are just literally stuck to their phones, stuck to their cell phones, stuck to the fucking being inside, man. It sucks. But if you got to grow up, and if you feel like you had a great childhood growing up, you were outside doing all the activities with your friends, like everything we've seen in this, then appreciate that you got to have that. That was a cool video. Take us back. Ladies and gents, before I end the video, I'd appreciate if you could like the video and sub. If you do both things, you'll get recommended more videos. And yeah, appreciate you. Goodbye.